Coming from a business-oriented family, Makgotso Motloung is determined to build a legacy of her own. With her sights set on agriculture, she took a bold step into the industry, starting with Rehoboth Broodery. Driven by passion, ambition, and a vision for the future, she is proving that success is not inherited, it is built. This is the story of resilience, determination, and a young woman carving her own path in agriculture. Hello, young farmers. Welcome to another episode of the Young Farmer Podcast. Today, we are joined by a young, amazing lady who is in both livestock and crop farming. She started farming as a teenager thanks to her grandfather, but she decided to now branch out and go into the real world and do this all by herself. So today, we are going to be finding out how she started and where the inspiration came from, as well as her plans for her future agri-business. Hi, Makgotso, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So tell us a little bit more about Makgotso, your Rehoboth Broodery, and how you basically got into farming. Like, what sparked the passion?
How I could simply start, it started off by having the little exposure growing up. I come from a business-orientated family. However, my grandfather was the one who was doing farming a lot. So we would visit him once in a while during the holidays as I was growing up. But when post-matric hit, I wanted to initially pursue accounting as a career. However, doors were shut because my APS score was low. So during my post-matric year, I upgraded my math. And in that process, that's when I realized that actually I don't think I want to do that. Then my dad had asked me the question, then what do you want to do? I'm like, no, I want to be a businesswoman. And he was like, but which industry? And then I was like, oh, okay. Actually, let me go into agriculture. I want to do agriculture. And then from there on, after my first year matric, I then pursued an agricultural career at Agri-Skills College and did a national diploma there in animal production. From there, started actually being more involved in my grandfather's farm. During my practical year, I was working with him. And after that, I continued to work with him and really start something of my own small right there in Mpumalanga.
Nice. So would you say your grandfather and your father are key figures in shaping the Makgotso that we are seeing today, or they were just a catalyst to say, you know what, you already knew what you wanted to do, but they just helped in the process?
I would say that they were huge key role players in becoming to who I am right now, or rather to say to being who I am right now. My dad really raised us in a very, many would say strict way. He ran a strict program. But that really shaped me to rather know that, in life you can't waste time. So growing up from a family where we were told that it's either you're at work or you're at school or you're on the sports field. So I was already kind of programmed to say that there's really no time to play. And with that in mind, and having my grandfather on the side to really open his heart to me with agriculture, it really, really pushed me. It really made me believe that I can actually do this and I can actually go out and start something of my own. I do have people who are going to back me up here and there. And if I fail, I'll just keep trying over and over again.
Lovely. And then tell us a little bit more about what you do on the farm. So you mentioned that you studied livestock production,
Yes.
right? Is that all you do, or are you in mixed farming? And if so, what do you do on both ends?
Currently, I'm running a mixed farming operation on the farm that I'm on. We do piggery production, vegetable production. The vegetables that I produce are carrots, beetroot, and spinach. And then we're slowly trying to move into agro-processing also, especially with my beetroot commodity. That's where I really feel like I can grow from. So started swiftly in September last year, trying to test if I can actually do agro-processing with beetroot, and it did turn out of like a slight success. There was a market for it, and that's what we've been doing all along up to now. So it's just the pigs and vegetables and agro-processing.
Nice. And then in terms of the agro processing, what's the goal? Like, what do you want to do? Is there anything specific, or are you still like testing the waters? How's that looking?
With the agro-processing, I'm specific. I've found where I really want to land. Like I told you that I want to use the beetroot that I produce and process it into value-added goods such as beetroot powder and pickled beets. So that's what I've been looking to, like more moving towards to rather.
Right. And then we'll start with the farm in Mpumalanga, because I'm guessing you've obviously spent a lot more time there, and, you know, that's where you grew up and found your feed. How has the surrounding community done in terms of supporting you and your grandfather? Are those his biggest customer base, or does he do retail? Like, how does it work in terms of the location there?
Well, back at home, currently with what my grandfather's doing, he is not more retail based. He's selling to our local community and also to other nearby communities. So, for example, with the livestock, we cater for like ceremonies, you know, people who even want to slaughter for personal consumption.
Right.
That's with the cows and the sheep. And then with the pigs, he does sell to like a normal abattoir that I'm also currently supplying.
Nice.
In Nigel. And then with the chickens, I wouldn't really say much about it because it's those indigenous chickens. But most importantly, I feel like where his love is at is with grains. Since he is farming over like 350 hectares on grains.
Oh, wow.
So he supplies the locals silo in Villas, Frankfurt. That's where we take our grains.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. So when you talk about grains, is this like wheat or what for someone that doesn't know, what would you describe the grains as?
So we do soya beans,
Okay.
yellow maize and white maize.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And obviously people can consume it as is or like make maize meal and stuff?
With the white maize, yes.
Okay.
The yellow, it's mostly for our livestock.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then the soya as well. But we try to cater for the market before just taking for our livestock also.
Okay, I see. So if your grandfather is farming on such huge land, you mentioned that you've recently branched out and you are obviously farming on your own. Did you also go as big as him?
No.
Or how big is your current farm?
I'm currently running a 22 hectare farm.
That's still big, girl.
Ish. Oh, my grandfather told me, Makgotso, for you. He told me straight, I was like, no, you're supposed to get something bigger. But I was like, no, I want to start small.
Right.
Yeah, I want to still find my feet. I want to see how I could start from scratch and work upward.
Right.
And in the process, I did realize that running a one-man show doesn't really sustain you as a farmer. So growing up in that, like moving on to that space and really growing as a farmer, I moved in February last year. And that's when I started starting to find my feet, really move, kickstart the farm with obviously the financial support from my father. However, with everything happening at the same time, like just having to graduate and now moving on to my own farm and trying to do things without my grandfather pushing me and pushing myself, it has been a challenge. But I'm really trying. And yeah, 22 hectares is it's big, but from where I come from, it's really just a good start. I would say it's a good start. It's a place where I can really see that with my agricultural career, this is where I want to go. And, 5 years from now, I can move on and pursue other farms.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's really lovely to hear. And then in terms of, you just mentioned that you can't run a one-man show.
Yes.
What are the things that you've learned transitioning from, having your grandfather, having him know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, to now having to kind of figure it out on your own? How has that shaped you, and how has the journey been?
The journey has been quite a tough one. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say that it's been okay. No, it's been tough. Especially transitioning to a completely different province.
Right.
And having to learn from within that province to say that, okay, with vegetables, in Mpumalanga it was easy to sell my crops.
Right.
Now I need to move here and discover a new market, how things are, how high the competition is when it comes to vegetable production and Gauteng, and also negotiating prices and trying to get the best price for my vegetables, and knowing when to produce, knowing what to produce, knowing when to get the right price. All of these things I had to learn by myself. I had to actually go out there and see what's okay, this is how things are done. So obviously I didn't encounter a lot of losses. I have lost a lot of money. And it has kind of pushed me to kind of see that, if you don't really plan or implement what you have planned and not something else, because now this has happened, you're not going to get the results. And even with agriculture, you may plan, but you may get a different results, because at the end of the day, you're working with living things, you're working with animals, you're working with crops. All of these things have life. And from outside of running the farm, I had to now learn with running and working with employees, because that also on the other end, it's a lot. So moving on my own, to branch out on my own, has really taught me how to wear different hats all the time. And it did get tiring, and it still is tiring. However, over time, obviously, with the little experience that I have, and the little experience I've gained from working in the VAR, I'm more encouraged to say that, I really can do this. It's
real.
Yeah, I really can do this. I just need to have structures, processes, and systems in place and hope for the best.
Definitely. Yeah. And then in terms of the support in the VAL, how's the community responding to having you obviously around and you starting to sell, the products that you have?
Yes. I would like to niche down to my neighborhood.
Okay.
My neighboring, the neighboring farmers, my neighbors, I feel like they've really supported me through and through. There was a crisis that I faced, I think last year, September, with veld fires.
Oh.
It was my first experience, experiencing veld fire in such a vast condition. We did have them in Mpumalanga, but, with all the machinery that my grandfather had, you know how to prepare. But now moving on my own, no machinery, nothing, and felt fire hit, with the little fire breaks we had made, it almost wiped out the entire farm.
Sure.
But what really saved me on that day is every neighbor pulled through.
Oh, shame.
When I put that voice note in the group saying, fire, fire, is on fire. Everyone started running and there was a quick response. So from there on, I really saw that I had people I can rely on and I myself pushed to also become reliable.
True.
I'm pushed also to become more interactive and not put myself in a one-man island show and actually see what everyone else is doing and see how one can help one another. Yeah.
Nice. No, that's lovely to hear that, you have such a strong support system, family, as well as, now your neighbors. And then in terms of challenges, right? You obviously mentioned things like the climate and the transitions and whatever. But as a farmer, what would you say are your biggest challenges? What are your needs? Especially because according to you, 22 hectares is small, right? For you to get to the point where you want to get, what would you say currently is standing in the way?
Yeah, actually, I think we've spoken about this, ne? Compliance. Compliance is my biggest challenge right now. Even before getting to capital, I can't. My business isn't in a position where it can get funded if it doesn't comply.
Indeed.
So compliance is my biggest challenge. However, I am working on tackling it this year. So things like compliance, I would say like your South African good agricultural practices, your SAGAP, your EIA, since I'm doing piggery.
So what's EIA?
Your environmental impact assessment.
Okay.
So with an EIA, I would want to expand my piggery production. However, I can't access capital without an EIA.
Sure.
So that also is like a barrier for me. And then when it comes to things like market contracts, having to get to a position where you're a trusted supplier to a specific client so you can secure that market contract and then get funding. These are barriers that are actually standing in my way. So I'd really touch a lot on compliance. However, even the compliance eating man. So also I do need money for compliance. I do need money to keep the farm running until I can actually get access to that funding.
Right.
So at the moment, my biggest challenge is compliance and capital. That is my biggest challenge. And what else would I say is really my biggest challenge? Yeah, I think that's really pretty much about it. Yeah.
All right. And then for someone that's watching, right, and says, okay, I want to support your business from maybe a mentor perspective, from a customer perspective, or from just another farmer that's like, hey man, let's start a community.
Yes.
How do people reach you? And obviously supporting you, like buying your product,
Yes.
How do people reach you? Where can they reach you? And are you always available? Do you have working hours? How does that work?
They could get hold of me via our website also. It's Rehoboth, www.rehobothboerdery.com. There is a link to our contact information, such as our business number, which is 084-502-8316, or you can get hold of me via our social media platforms. My personal page is Makgotso M_, and then our business page is rehoboth.boerdery. That's on Instagram. And then on TikTok, it's Makgotso M_2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. And then let's talk about expenses versus profits, right? So are you currently planting on the whole 22 hectares or using the whole 22 hectares?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you know approximately what part of like how much farmland you use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the arable land on that 22 hectare farm is around 6 hectares.
Okay.
Currently for this season, we're under production of 3.5 hectares.
Okay.
Reason being is obviously I don't have the capacity to do the whole 6 hectares. Reason like things like production costs, my irrigation, since I'm doing vegetables. Yeah, that's a bit pricey for me at the moment. So for this season, we're farming under 3.5 hectares for vegetable production. And then our piggery house is under 2, it's less than a hectare really, but I would say it's like 200 meters squared, a piggery house that can fit at least 7 sow units, and then the rest is just growers and piglets. So that's what we're currently doing. Yeah.
Okay. And then in that, between the piggery farmhouse as well as the 3.5-ish for the crops, how do your expenses look like on a month to month or on a cycle basis?
Okay, on a month to month, if I'm like not doing, like if I'm not planting anything, I'm looking at my expenses at around 20,000. That would include labor, ESCOM, Hesh, and then it would be maintenance, obviously, and that would just be it.
Right.
Because I'm currently working with 4 permanent workers, and yeah, the ESCOM bill can really shoot up at any time, considering the fact that we pump water with the electricity. So it's not like a solar pump or it's a diesel pump. So that's the case. So if I'm on season, like planting right now, we're looking at 36 to 40. That's where I can range. Because now I'm not only buying input costs, I'm also hiring seasonal workers to just help with the planting or help with the harvesting.
Right.
And yeah, the going up and down with the diesel prices, that really does affect us.
And I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then on a good cycle, how much profits do you make? Plus minus.
Okay, plus minus. I would say a good 15, 20.
Okay.
Plus minus, around there. That's when I'm able to produce at least 5 growers to take for slaughter, or I'm either able to sell my piglets that I get from the sows.
Right.
Because those range around 350 to 400, depending on when they are bought. And then with the vegetables, it also depends which market am I taking. Am I taking it to Vereeniging market, or am I taking it to Joburg, or am I taking it to a local Pick and Pay?
Right.
That all varies. Yeah.
In terms of the pricing. Great. And then if you are not on the farm, what are you doing? What do you like to do for fun? Who's Makgotso if she's not on the farm?
Okay, to be entirely honest, if I'm not on the farm, I'm probably like serving at church.
Okay.
But what I like to do really is to spend time with family. With the amount of pressure that happens on the farm, I find myself having to like, oh, you know what? I'm going to see my family because this is getting too much. So I'm more of an adventurous person, I must say. I like hiking, not really, but I like being outside from a nature's perspective. And I like spending time with my family, and I really love also investing back into community. Hence, I like serving at church and so on and so forth. Yeah.
And then how would you say you handle the mental pressures and your mental health, being obviously young and, there's all these social media things, running a business is not easy, you're not living with your family. How do you manage your mental health?
I stay on a 2-hour call with my grandma.
That's so cute.
And
she's like your therapist.
Yes, if I'm being entirely honest, and my grandma also. So it's always the back and forth, consistent calling, and also just reaching out to my mom and reaching out to my dad and saying like, hey, this is what's happening. having to live alone, not just in a house, but live alone on a farm, that's too much, because not live alone like I'm the only person there, but not so, there isn't anyone close I can relate to. So that has put a mental toll on me, to be honest with you, because I come from a really kind of like big family. There's 6 of us, like I have 6 siblings. So it's like everyone's everywhere. Now I'm in a whole house where it's just me, and it gets tough. It just feels lonely. I mean, entrepreneurship on its own is already lonely.
True.
Now having to experience loneliness from the comfort of your home is something else. So with my mental health, I've really made sure that I keep close contact to my family. That is important. I have friends also. I check up on my friends and they check up on me.
That's cute.
Most importantly, when it comes to mental health, I would say invest in a good community, because that's what community is there for.
Right.
I can't grow the business on my own. Although I am fully operating everything by myself every day, but there are people pushing me day in, day out that, no, you can't do this. No, don't feel like this about yourself. Being in an industry where there's a lot going on and everyone is emerging and so forth, and everyone's doing their own thing, and having social media, like you mentioned, one does feel sometimes pressure to say that, oh my word, I haven't done 1, 2, 3, or I'm not pushing hard enough. But one thing I learned is that comparison is really the theft of joy. So with mental health, I just really invested in my community so that they would invest more into me again, and understanding that I can't compare myself to someone's day 100 when I'm on day 20 or something. Yeah, that's really about it.
No, that's lovely. That's very lovely to hear. And then in terms of platforms such as Young Farmer, would you say these platforms are useful and helpful to young farmers? And if so, how are they useful and helpful?
Well, platforms like Young Farmer are useful for viewers who are also like have the desire to actually pursue an agricultural degree or an agricultural career, or actually run a farm or whatsoever. These platforms are there if you're like, okay, I want to do farming. You can just go on YouTube and you hear all the different stories, and you just sit there and see which story you relate to. So I really appreciate this platform, because not only is Makgotso going to be sitting here and talking, but another person's going to be sitting here and telling their story, and another person and another person. So Young Farmer caters to a rather vast audience, which is good, because that way one is really encouraged and not kind of like backed off to say that, oh no, farming is for this kind of a person, or farming is for this kind of a person, or farming is looks good on these kind of people. No. Young Farmer really helps the person kind of not narrow down to a niche, but actually open their eyes to see how much more can agriculture cater to you, or how much more can you actually gain from agriculture, or how big the nest is. If we look back to that Rooted Conversation video we shot at Joburg Market,
Yes.
that video really exposed me to a lot of people who were in need of my products and services.
Right.
One of the people that reached out to me after seeing that video was Mr. Jali from Vereniging Fresh Produce Market.
Nice.
He sent me a direct message on Instagram. He's like, hey, I saw you do beetroot and carrots. I watched the Young Farmer Rooted Conversation video, and can we talk? Interested in you supplying the market.
Nice.
And that's when I also realized that, oh, actually there's a fresh produce market right next to me.
Yeah.
I thought it was closed. And and then he explained that no, it's being revamped. The fresh produce market in Vereniging actually is working. And that also with Bagwera Agri Solutions, they also reached out to me after seeing that video, and they said, hey, we specialize in brokering farmers into retail markets and so forth. We were interested in buying your beetroot and carrot. Can we talk? Can you supply us? And fast forward to today, I actually have what I'm my first supply with them under production.
Oh, wow.
The beetroots and carrots. So a young farmer really has pushed me. A young farmer has really given me the exposure that a farmer would need, an exposure that an emerging or rather even established farmer can get to the right people. It connects us as farmers. It's a whole ecosystem that actually makes things easier. So that's what a young farmer really does. I really recommend a platform such as this.
No, I'm glad to hear that. And then in closing, if there is a young farmer watching this and they want to start, they don't know, they feel a little lost in the world, what would you say to them to encourage them and to just, get them going?
What would I say to the next young farmer? I mean, the famous line, start where you are.
Right.
Start where you are. Start with what you have. But sometimes that's difficult to see. What do I have? Or where am I? Most importantly, I feel like the thing I would pass down to the next farmer is to really say that start with your community. Who's around you? Do you see the people around you as people you would want to grow and become one day? Start with someone whom you can talk to say that, okay, I want to do this. I want to pursue, for example, feedlot farming. How do I do that? You get access to someone who's doing feedlot. You network with that person. You sit down with them, say, this is what I want to do. And from there on, network is something else, but what's more key is also knowledge. So pursue a career in agriculture. Don't just go out there and work. It helps to have the knowledge about what you're doing. It helps to have the understanding of what you're doing. So I would say start with where you are, start with what you have, work on your community, and really invest in your community. But most importantly, invest in yourself, because agriculture it's a jungle. It's a jungle. And if you don't know who you are and where you stand, you could get lost easily. You could be all over the place trying to prove to everybody else that you could do this. No. Invest in yourself and understand that it's not about putting a performance that for an audience that doesn't exist. It's about actually growing, failing, and learning and relearning.
Sure.
That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much for those lovely words, and thank you for joining us. As you heard, it's about growing, learning, failing, and trying again. So thank you, Makgotso. We look forward to seeing the business grow, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.